Hey guys, hey, I wanted to apologize to you guys. It's been a couple weeks since I've released a video, and you know, I haven't been feeling too well the last couple weeks, and I'm COVID free, so those of you who watch my channel, I'm good. There's no problems there, but I think it has a little bit to do with my allergies. A lot of stuff flying around here. My diet, I've been really low on calories, so I've been a little lethargic, and I've been living off energy drinks and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's been a challenge for me, because I'm trying to get rid of this last little piece. And for those of you who are in pretty good shape, don't get out of shape. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. You just try to maintain. You know what I mean? So I think it's a combination of a little bit of that, and then stresses that have been going on in my life a little bit. You know what I mean, that I've had to deal with. So I'm changing my work schedule a little bit. I'm hoping that'll help a little bit. I'll get a little bit more rest. I'm taking more days off of the gym so that I get more rest, and you know what I mean. I start balancing my life a little bit better. So again, my apologies. I really wanted to release something in the last 2 weeks, but it's just been difficult. But from this point on, I really want to release at least one video a week. If I can get up to two, I'd really like that. But I got a lot of shit to say, so here we go. What I wanted to share with you guys today was something that I got done. It's a little bit private, but I'm willing to share it with you guys because I want you guys to learn from my experience. And that's the whole reason why I'm doing this. I had a vasectomy, and there's 3 reasons why I did this. Okay. So the first reason is because, number one, I'm too fucking old, right? I mean, I'm going to be 49 in 2 weeks. And, to be honest with you, if I were to meet somebody tomorrow, you got 5 years of the courting process. I got 2 years of vetting, maybe 1 year to, maybe possibly get married, and then 2 years to live with somebody to really get to know them. And then you start having children. You know what I mean? You got to have that good foundation. You got to know each other as a couple and have all those conversations that lead up to wanting to get married. What kind of religion are we going to raise our children in? What kind of religion are we? Do we get along? I mean, all that sort of thing, right? What kind of schools do you want them to go to? Do you want them to go to a basis type school, or do you want them to go to public schools? All these conversations that you got to have, right, in those 5 to 6 year time frame before you start having kids. You got to have that established, right? If I had a nickel for every time my friends got married and they start popping out kids, and they're having to learn how to be a husband while learning how to be a father. Dude, talk about complicating your life and wondering why. I mean, these guys, it's the definition of insanity. I never really understood that, and I think you should really have a good foundation. You should have a plan for your life. I always had a plan, but I never really thought of, I thought about things like religion. I thought about, the way I wanted to raise my children and stuff like that. And with some women, it vibes. The majority of women, obviously, it didn't vibe. So, the other thing that you got to be really aware of is especially in Mexican, I mean, I speak from experience, right? So I can't speak to other nationalities, right? But in a Mexican family, the women, they have children, and really they put all their efforts into the children, because family and children, raising children is what they're there for. I mean, that's the most important thing, in a lot of Mexican women's life. Well, I mean, where I come from, you know what I mean? The generation where I come from, Gen X. So that's the mentality that we had. I don't know about now, I don't know if that's changed or what. I can't really speak to that. So, you guys will have to educate me on a lot of that stuff. But, the point of it is, I think you have to have a really strong foundation before, you decide to have children, right? The other thing too is you got to be a man right? You got to be a good, strong man. You have to bring something to the relationship. The woman has to bring something to the relationship, and you have to complement you have to complement each other, right? One another, to be able to put forth a positive effort towards your family, right? So you got to put a positive, and then that'll transition to a positive to a child, Again, my friends, nothing to get, there's Einstein. Nothing against my friends, but, I think a lot of my friends did this. They didn't really think about it, right? And how else do you get somebody somewhere without a roadmap? You just don't, right? So it's really important that you make these types of decisions. You really think this stuff out. And I did for the most part, but I don't think I thought about everything, and you really have to sit down and think about, maybe in your early 20s, think about it, right? Just put something on paper, you know what I mean? Because that's going to change in your late 20s and in your early 30s. All that stuff's going to change, but have a plan, you know what I mean? Have somewhat of a plan. Think about it. Think of all the things that go into a marriage. Think of all the things that go into being a father or a wife, a mother, that sort of thing, and make a decision on whether or not that's for you or not, right? I mean, I think we need to think about that stuff, and I don't think enough of us do. Okay, so the first thing was, you really have to have a plan for your life, and start early. You know what I mean? I'd be starting way too late in my life. And by the time my son or daughter graduated, I mean, I'd be in my early 70s. That just doesn't make sense for me, right? So that's the first reason why I decided to have a vasectomy. The second reason is because my dad was not the greatest dad in the world. I mean, he didn't put the time and effort that was needed. He was just really impatient with me. Every time he would take me to go do something, he would throw me in, but he wouldn't show me how to do it. Because number one, he didn't know how to do a lot of things. Number two, he just thought that's what you needed to do. It was, okay, go do this. And luckily, I had an engineering type mind. I had, I could figure it out. I was pretty resourceful in that way, even when I was young. But my dad was very impatient with me. You know what I mean? He would get mad at me really quickly. He would just push me out of the way and say, just let me do it. Even though half the time he didn't even know what the hell he was doing, So, there was nothing like YouTube or anything like that to show you how to do shit. We just had to figure it out. You know what I mean? And my dad never, ever had the right tool. Ever. He never did. And, I'd say, Dad, why don't you go buy the tool for this? I don't need a goddamn tool. I'll figure it out. I remember one time we were changing the oil on one of my cars. He didn't have a wrench for the oil filter. Oil filter wrench. I mean, there's a wrench for this shit, right? That does a great job. Well, what he ended up doing was sticking a fucking screwdriver through it and turning it. We got oil everywhere, and it was just a fucking fiasco, man. It was just awful. You know what I mean? So, make sure that if you're going to be a dad, make sure you're not a bumbling fool like my dad was, half the time. I love my dad, God rest his soul, but he just was not a good example in those areas, and you got to have patience. You got to have patience as a dad, right? As a father figure, right? I remember, I was dating this woman who had 2 boys, and I was showing them how to change the door handles, right? On doors inside my house. I showed him once. This kid was so smart, man. He figured it out, and he did all the door handles in my house, you know. And that's the thing, you know, you don't want to be a micromanager. You want to give your kids some autonomy, you know what I mean? And let them learn on their own. You know what I mean? It's okay if they fuck up. It's okay if they screw up. That's part of learning. You know, my dad didn't feel that way, you know, because he was always getting yelled at by his dad, you know, if he did something wrong. And for the most part, his dad was pretty patient. So I don't know where that came from. So I didn't want to be like my dad. I was afraid of being like my dad. And the big thing is I don't think my dad was happy in his life. You know, he wasn't happy at work. There was a lot of things that happened to him. You know, I don't think he was happy with some of the decisions that he made in his life. You know, him and my mom had a strained relationship. So there was a lot of that, you know. So I think, you know, I'm a pretty happy guy, you know, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm not married, right, is because a lot of the relationships pulled me down like an anchor, right? They, you know, instead of being happy and at the height of my happiness, they would pull me down because, you know, the woman would nag me in one way or another. And a lot of it was because I wasn't holding my own frame. See, my dad didn't hold his frame. So he conformed to what my mom wanted because that's what he thought he needed to be. Well, that was my example. So I would conform to the woman, and I certainly wasn't happy being that guy either. So I was just like, fuck this. You know, I didn't like being in that situation. So therefore, I got out of all those situations. And that's why I never got married. That's why I never had kids, because I knew I wasn't going to be happy in those relationships, you know? And you got to be happy with yourself, number one, right? Then you got to be happy in the relationship. The woman comes into the relationship with you, and you complement one another, and you become the best of each other, and that's what the child is going to see in the world. You know what I mean? So I didn't see my life going that way. You know, I saw my life going down the road that my dad went. So I didn't want to be that kind of dad. So that's the second reason why I never had children. And you know, I would have been a great dad now, but you know, I'm too old. I'm too old now. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be chasing kids around. I don't think I'll have the energy, or I'll be as good of a dad as I could have been. You know what I mean? Chasing some kids around in my 60s, in my late 50s, early 60s. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. So I really want to put the best effort. I want to put forth the best effort that I can. And if I can't do that, then, you know, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. So that was the second reason. The third reason is because of, I don't want to bring a child into this world with the world the way it is right now. It's fucked up. You know, you can't be who you want to be. You know, I mean, God forbid, you know, my kid, my daughter, my son was gay or transsexual or whatever the case may be. I mean, Jesus, they hate me for the color of my skin now. You know, that was always something that was unstated. You know what I mean? There was racism when I was growing up. There was always racism. You know, and I mean, I was affected by it. My best friend's African American. I mean, me and him hanging out, we'd get shit all the time. I mean, it was horrible, right? And he'd get more shit than me because he was African American, but, you know, I still got my shit, you know what I mean? And all the way up until I graduated from college and got into my first job as an engineer, it was bad, right? Luckily, I work at a place now where there's a shit ton of diversity, you know, I mean, they promote diversity. So, you know, when you grow up in a world that hates the color, that hates you for being born and because of your nationality and the way you look, I mean, why do I want to bring a kid into that world? You know what I mean? Especially without a mother. I mean, you're already starting off at a negative. Why do I want to do that to him or her, right? I mean, you know, it's unfair to them. It's just unfair, you know? And I grew up in a time where there was a lot of gang violence. So I grew up around guns. People were getting shot all the time. I mean, in schools, people were getting shot because they hung around a gang or whatever. I used to hang around these guys, you know, that were on the east side. I can't really, you know, I'm not going to, they were in my neighborhood, right? I used to hang out with those guys. The guys on the east side of town hated me because I used to hang around with those guys. Well, that was gang violence, right? That was barrio shit. That was, you know, and that's been around for years. That's something that was just normal to me, right? But now there's white supremacy. There's, they're spilling it on social media. It's everywhere. You pick up your phone and it's news on your fucking phone that people hate Mexicans, people hate African Americans, people hate Chinese, you know, people hate Japanese people. You know, it's stupid. It's stupid. That's what makes this land great, is our diversity. You know what I mean? You learn something from everybody you face, right? My best friend is African American. I have a lot of Asian friends. I have white friends. I have, you know, friends of all nationalities. And you know what? They all teach me something different. You know, it's a beautiful world. Any color you are. I don't care what you are, right? But why do I want to bring a child into this world that is already going to be hated because they're brown? That doesn't make any fucking sense, you know? And then they're being bullied. I was bullied as a kid, you know? But you know what I did? I beat the shit out of some kid, you know, in 3rd grade, and I put him in the hospital, and nobody ever fucked with me after that. Same thing happened in high school. They fucked with me a little bit, threw hands. That was it. They never fucked with me again. Now you're being bullied on social media. People hate you because of the pictures that you put on. And then, God forbid, you know, my son or daughter was, you know, if they're gay or anything like that, you know, they're already going to be hated because they're brown. Then they're going to be hated because they're gay or transsexual or whatever the case may be. And I'm going to love them for whatever they are. And it's going to kill me. It's going to kill me seeing them go through that shit. You know, I don't think it's fair. It's having them start off at a negative, and I don't want to put my unborn children in that world. It's a world of hate right now. It's an awful world. I can navigate through it because, you know what? I don't give a fuck. You know, hate me for who I am. I don't give a shit. You know, you're going to hate me, whatever. You know what I mean? But let's face it. I'm a Mexican kid that grew up in the barrio that, you know, is making damn good money and is smarter than any motherfucker out there. You know, I have 130 IQ and, you know, and I'm in great fucking shape. And I look like this at 49 fucking years old. Hate on me all you want. I don't give a shit. And that's just my mentality, you know. But having to raise a kid in this world, you know, how do I know that kid's going to have my mentality? You know what I mean? And how do you teach that to them? You know? I just don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's fair bringing a beautiful child into this world already starting off at a negative. I just don't think it's fair. It's sad. It's sad that I have to think that way, but, you know, it is what it is. And you know, without having a mom in their life, again, another negative that they're starting off at. I would have had great support system. I would have been a great father. I know I would have been a great father. I'm too old now, but I know at some point I would have been a really great father because I would have been able to give everything. But and I'm a great dad to my little dog Einstein. But honestly, man, I just don't think it's fair to these kids nowadays. And then I don't want them growing up in a world. These things came up, later on in life for me. Jesus, the iPhone came out in 2004, 2005, something like that. Facebook didn't come out until 2004. You know what I mean? So I spent the majority of my life with pagers, flip phones. Stuff like that. Having a cell phone was like, holy shit, this is cool, man. You know what I mean? And you know what? This girl that I was dating, they would play with my phone. I'd give it to them because they would play with my phone and say, your phone's boring. Because I have nothing but adult shit on it, right? I pay bills on it. I look at my accounts. I do whatever I need to. I don't do social media. I just got an Instagram account. And I'll be honest with you guys, I have no fucking idea how to use it. My coach sends me stories or whatever the fuck those are, right? And I look at them. I don't know how I look at them, but I just hit buttons and they fucking end up showing up. To be honest with you, it's not because I don't want to learn how to use it. I'm smart enough to learn how to use it. It's just a waste of my fucking time, dude. I got more important shit to do. Unfortunately, and that's why I haven't gone out into the dating world, right? And dated because, and God forbid, my kids would have to just go straight into dating online. You know what I mean? Because their classes are online. Everything's online. They have very little interaction. I remember when I was a kid, man, I used to go out and ride bikes in my neighborhood and go to my neighbor's house and, do knucklehead shit. I remember I was 9 years old and I went over to a buddy of mine's house and he pulled out a fucking porno video. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was a porno video on VHS. Holy shit, there's a mind blower, right? VHS. Wow, dude. We had Playboys back then. They were actual books, not on the computer. They were actually books that you would flip through and they had nude women in them. We were like, holy shit, dude, this is cool. You know what I mean? It's not like that anymore, man. Everything's online. They're growing up, they're going to have to go straight into online dating, and that's going to be the way they interact with people and this and that. They're never going to have the luxuries that we did of meeting somebody in person and talking to somebody. And I've had a really tough transition breaking up with my ex-fiance, going into this world of online dating. And people look at you when you have a conversation, when you joke with somebody, they look at you like you have a fucking disease now. It's a trip, man, But you know what? I just don't give a fuck, man. I just am who I am, and I'm friendly, and I talk to people. And it seems like the only people I talk to are older people that are around my age, that are Gen Xers or, mostly Gen Xers, even some millennials, maybe I'll run into every once in a while that share the same ideas that I do. But you know what I mean? It is what it is. But I'm having a really tough time changing, but having to bring a child into this world where they're projectiled into this fucking world, into this new world. They'll be able to acclimate towards this new world a lot better than me, but how do I teach them? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I teach old school shit, you know what I mean? You go up to a woman, you say, hey, my name's Rich, I think you're fan-fucking-tastic. Let's go have a cup of coffee, and have a conversation. It's not like that anymore. They're having text conversations. And they're little nerds and shit. I'm a nerd because I'm a double E, right? I'm an electrical engineer. I'm kind of a nerd, but I'm not that much of a nerd. You know what I mean? So it's a negative, you know, and without having the good foundation, having a wife, having a family, having that good baseline, they're starting off at a negative, man. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons why I chose to have a vasectomy, man. And, you know, hey, if you guys want to talk about it, if you want to talk more about why I had it, you know, the process, what I went through, you know, I'm more than happy to talk to you guys about it. You know, if you're really thinking in this direction, you know, I'm more than happy to talk to you guys and, you know, help you guys out with your decisions. You know, email me. I'm more than happy to write you an email back and kind of talk to you about this. Set up some one-on-one time with me, and, you know, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. And we can talk about more reasons why. You know, those are the 3 that I picked for this video, but there's probably a lot more, you know what I mean? A lot more that I thought about. So hope you guys got something out of this video, guys. You know, I don't want it to be a downer type situation. It turned out to be a positive thing for me. It really changed my life, you know. I mean, yeah, okay, my life, I wanted it to be one way. I wanted to get married, have kids, have a family, and you know, be a dad. But that didn't pan out. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. God wants bigger and better things. And I think what he wants me to do is get on this platform, talk to you guys, and hopefully you guys get a lot out of these videos. And because this is my legacy, man. You know, I'm not going to have any kids. I'm not going to have anybody to really pass it on to. So what I'm leaving is this to you guys. So I hope you really guys get a lot of value out of this. Please connect with me. You know, I'm more than happy to be a father figure or anything that you need. You know, because I don't want you guys to grind like I've been grinding my entire life, man. If I can make your life that much easier, I'm more than happy to do it. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Hit the subscribe and like, and we'll talk later. Peace.